What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Unfiltered Sessions podcast here with Seth Drugatz. And I probably just butchered that again, even though I just asked him. But I'm
No, you
excited.
nailed it.
Nice. There we go. All right. Well, here we go. But yeah, I'm excited for us to talk because Seth and I both had some transitions within our businesses. He stayed within the coaching space. I transitioned from coaching to a service-based business and everything, but really excited to have Seth on. So we're going to talk about life in business. And as always, a little bit of unfiltered or all unfiltered there, just us being us. But Seth, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Philip. I'm really excited to do this. We've known each other kind of on and off for a few years, so it'll be interesting to explore some of like how that's gone for us.
Yeah. So tell me, I know you do transformation coaching, so we're going to get into that and I guess play a little pun on that about how to transform and everything. But talk to us a little bit about your services real quick. Like, what do you do? What does that mean to be a transformation coach?
Yeah, so transformational coaching, at least the way I do it, is coaching people around fundamental patterns that we've developed throughout our life. So ways that we've learned to be in the world, with the idea that we kind of grow up with those patterns and we get really good at them. And then as we enter the adult world, we have those and we can use them at any time, but they also have a potential to limit what we can create or access in our life. And so I help people basically move themselves out of their own way so they can really step into the life they'd like to create for themselves.
And I can really see that. And you saying that makes me think, I heard on a podcast, I got the books right here, Alex Hormozy. He was talking about on the podcast, somebody was saying, they wanted to stick with their local market and try and market to that local market. And ironically, I was starting to think and try and do a lot of that and everything. But he's like, why just the local market? Why would you limit yourself only to that when this particular person's services could really be nationwide? And they had some reasoning behind that. But really, it kind of goes what you're saying, that we have these limited beliefs based on the constraints of the life that we live and the habits that we built up over time. So yeah, what's like the common things that you see that most people tend to kind of have that constraint on their life, and how could they open it up, let's say like on their own, possibly to open it up?
Yeah, so the thing with the style of work that I do is everybody's patterns are unique because, well, number one, we're each born somewhat unique to the world. And then also what we go through is unique. So it's a little bit like everyone's kind of got their own style that they're running. Some common things you could look at might be something like putting other people first. Like maybe somewhere along the way they learned that, hey, I'll get a lot of love and I'll be really safe if I'm always like giving very generously and putting other people before myself. That'll bring me a lot of what I want in life. Another one could be something like maybe a very brilliant person is like, they'll put their knowledge and their ability to know things over everything else, like a high-flying lawyer or something like that. It's like, as long as I know the right way to do everything, then my life is set. And so they put all their eggs in that basket. There's a lot of different ways that people can do it. In order to move the stuff, that can be a little bit tricky because a lot of times these patterns, like there's a really good reason we developed them that way over our life. Like there's a lot of things that they bring us and a lot of fear that it keeps us from. So it can actually be pretty difficult to move. A lot of times in my experience, it involves people reaching some sort of rock bottom, if you will, where it's like, hey, there's lots of stuff I want to access over here. And I can see now that my pattern is really the thing that's keeping me from getting over there. But that's not always the most pretty process. It can be pretty difficult for people to step into.
Yeah, and I really resonate with that first pattern. That's definitely me right there, really kind of people pleaser, wanting to make people happy. And I've definitely had to try and push myself outside of that to realize that it doesn't matter how happy I make somebody if I'm miserable at the end of the day. Because yeah, in some senses, I love to serve. I love to help people out. And so when I can really help people out, it does fulfill me in a lot of senses. But there's a lot of times too where it's like, okay, I keep pouring out, but then nothing's kind of reciprocating there. And there's all sorts of things that we could go down rabbit holes and stuff talking about that. I'm sure you could you're probably already thinking 500 things there as well. But I definitely resonate with that, being a people pleaser myself and really trying to work through that. And then just, I guess, kind of self-awareness is where it's helped me to move past a lot of that. And then realizing where I wanted to go in life, being that people pleaser wasn't going to allow me to get there. So not that I got coached by you or anything, but that's definitely some of the things that I've done to help me get past a lot of that. Although that still is a habit thing that kind of gets ingrained in me. When I start doing something new, I want to see how I can benefit others or help others out. And then I'm not necessarily looking at me And again, it's just kind of these things that it's like, oh, well, if I start thinking about me, then now I'm becoming selfish. And it's funny how we tend to put ourselves into this bucket, all like we're talking about.
Yeah, the brilliantly said. I can resonate with some. For a lot of my life, I put people first in like a different way than you, but still kind of with the same outcome. It's like, it's a beautiful thing, that type of generosity, but when it runs rampant and it's the only thing that's happening, then it can get exhausting trying to carry all the weight that comes with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to go back to the transition. I think this is something important, and you probably were like me, where you feel like you were almost like cheating on yourself. You were cheating other people out. And we hear all these things on social media from business coaches and stuff that you really got to stick with something, stick it out, and don't pivot too soon. When is too soon, all this stuff. And so at least for me in my head, when I started to transition from the public speaking coaching to the virtual assistant agency, I felt like even though I had spent about 3 years on the public speaking coaching and I was starting to see some traction and really get recognition, the income wasn't there, but then I started seeing the income on the virtual assistant side of things, and I saw the potential for that, but I still felt like, maybe should I hold on to this? Should I not? And so there was like this big tussle back and forth for me. Was that similar for you when it went to you doing, and I would say it was a smaller pivot for you because you went from one type of coaching to another, but how was that for you? Because I think there's a lot of people in our audience that are just worried about making that transition, and what will that look like for themselves, but how will other people perceive them?
Yeah, that's such a great question. That was a difficult time in my life, kind of navigating those waters where there's a lot of uncertainty when you go to start a business. And when I look at like shifting the coaching styles, which is a beautiful distinction, that was a big hold up for me. Yeah, I think initially the style that I was using was maybe like Tony Robbins-ish sort of style. And there was definitely powerful stuff that was under there. I was struggling though to find lasting impact with people. It was kind of like I could bring them some distinctions. We'd maybe strategize some good ideas and kind of move forward, but it ended up feeling a lot like eventually they could just go do it by themselves. And I was there as like kind of for accountability and maybe a good idea here and there. Not only that, but this style that I found that I do now really saved me in the coaching space. I actually was thinking about leaving, I think after my first year. And then I discovered this style, which is very focused on being and transformation. And I saw a guy speaking on a video, which was first what brought it like to my attention. And the way he was showing up was like nothing I'd ever seen before. He was trying to present anything about himself. He was just very much sharing vulnerably like what is for him and from his essence. Like he was just really bringing himself into this space. And I was like, oh, I want some of that. So like, I don't know what he's doing, but that's something that I don't have access to. And then as I really like opened up into this style, I realized that the way I can help people really shift how they're showing up in the world aligns with something deep inside of me. And once I caught on to that, I sort of knew like, oh, this is going to be the thing that I'm going to bring to the world. And then it became kind of like nothing can stop me from here. I know this is where I'm supposed to be, was kind of the feeling that I had.
Man, I feel like your transition, which really was less of a transition overall, but I feel like it would be harder because now you're kind of almost, for a lack of a better analogy, like two different personality styles, what you did. So it's very similar coaching, but the methodology behind it was like two different personality styles where, at least for me, there was a hard, clear-cut transition. I'm doing this one thing, now I'm doing a completely different thing. And of course I could try and tie them together, but you were just like changing your personality, which, I mean, in the self-development space, that's probably the hardest thing for so many, and myself included, where we start to lose friends. Our family starts to be people that don't relate to us anymore, or we feel like we can't have a good conversation. And you probably feel the same way with probably even people that maybe have talked to you, they want to get out of their own ways, get these habits fixed, and they just keep the same habit keeps coming up, and you're like, okay, I could actually help you, and you almost like just strangle them. I can help you, you just need to allow me to help you. And so talk to us about that though. I can imagine that would have been really tough to talk, like transition, just that, again, that personality type different, just the different approach to the coaching there in the end. So talk to us really about that. I really want to like dig into that because I think that's an important thing for those in the self-development space, because that's something that we all go through, whether it's a coaching or just trying to get better and better ourselves. We start to deal with people around us that now think that, oh, well, we've changed or we're doing something different, when really it's just they didn't change, we're bettering ourselves.
Yeah, that's such a brilliant distinction. That's kind of been a long like riding with me throughout this entire experience. The word that we use in this space is contexts, like context you hold about the world. And there's sort of like agreed upon rules or agreed upon ways to look at things. And when you start to challenge that stuff and shift how you're relating to things in the world, inevitably a lot of your close friends, your family members, they're all still going to hold those same contexts in the same way. And then you're doing something different. And just inherently with that, there's like, you're sort of challenging the basis on which some of your relationships are built and kind of changing the rules, if you will. So yeah, that's been a really tough part of the journey. It's like, how do I remain true to myself and what I want to create, but also like have the respect and give all the people that I care about the respect and space for them to do things their own way. Yeah, it's been tough. There's been a lot of fear that's been around that for me, and fear of like becoming alone. Maybe it's like, as I shift myself, like, where does that leave me with everyone that I love? Am I alone then? Something like that.
Yeah, and I would say you're not alone at the end of the day. Everybody around you needs to catch up. But talk to that fear. What made you decide to push through that fear of loneliness, the transition there? What made you finally do that?
Yeah, it was that alignment that I sort of mentioned earlier. Something in this work just like really struck a chord with me deep inside of me. It was like everything that it takes to be a coach in this space. It was like I had all those qualities and I just felt like I fit here. It was like, it's everything that I'm interested in. I love working with people. Just all the integral parts of who I am really resonate in this space. And so once I had a taste of that, it was kind of like, I don't really care what gets into my way. I'm going to find a way to make this work, because everything good comes from alignment, in my opinion. Like if you can really bring your true self to the world, then you don't have to play any games. It's like you just walk your path.
I like that alignment. And I would say that's probably a word that describes my transition as well. Like, it's definitely more aligned with where I want to go in life, but also with who I am more naturally as a person. Like I grew up as a shy, introverted person, which led into the whole like speaking thing so I could help people with that. But more so on the leadership side, I realized that I was overlooked in all these things. But then when the push come to shove, I would be called upon essentially to be the leader. People look to me for that guidance, and doing the public speaking, while I could help people get over that fear of speaking and really get their voice with the delegation side of things and learning to lead a remote team, especially, I'm able to help my clients out even more, not just get somebody to do admin type tasks for them, but also how do you actually start leading that team? And so for me, it's become even more fun because now I get to strategize on the business side. I get to strategize with leadership, and all these different facets all kind of come together with this new business. So I'd say it's definitely more aligned with where my mind works and where I want to go in the future, especially on the side where coaching felt like I was tied to one-on-one or one on a couple group, whatever it may be. Where now with the business, I can really build into the CEO position. And I guess I kind of see more of that vision as well of it versus when I was just doing the coaching. So yeah, I would say alignment for me as well. But as far as my transition, I just realized that I want to do this. This is something that makes sense. And I stopped thinking about what other people could do and just took action on that. And I knew taking enough action would show results, which then would get people to either buy in to realize, okay, Philip's not crazy and an idiot, or they'll just stay away and they're not people that need to be in my corner anyways.
Yeah. Beautifully said. I really resonate with that, though, like the continuing to walk your path and like clearing the space, and then other people, that clears space for people to choose into it. And if they don't, that's okay too.
Yeah. For sure. So what's been like the coolest transformation that you've seen? Well, let's start with yourself. What's the coolest transformation you've seen out of yourself? And then I want to ask about like a client of what you can share.
Yeah, sure. I'll share the one that I'm onto recently, which has been really powerful for me. So basically, a little bit with like putting people first, sort of what we were talking about. There's this way I would operate in the world where basically I was trying to control how people perceived me. It was like there's an image I'm maintaining and I would cater other people's experience of me. Like I would show up differently depending on who the person was, really trying to like find the best way for myself to show up to be able to connect with them and get to know them. So it was coming from a healthy place. But what it turned into was me carrying this massive weight of me going around, and every person that I'm interacting with, I'm trying to present myself in a certain way. And there's kind of like a strategy behind it. And I know a lot of people at this point in my life. So it was this heavy weight that I was carrying around where I wasn't really allowed to be myself, or at least not as often as I would want to. Like there were certain parts of me that weren't allowed to come out when I'm with other people or with certain people. Just this big like game that I was playing.
I could see how hard that would be. Oh my gosh. Like that sounds worse than trying to tell a lie and then make sure that you're keeping up the same lie with multiple people, especially, I mean, we're obviously here in the Greenville area and we see all the same people. And I'm sure there were some people that are connected to each other that you didn't meet them connected together. So you're acting like the funny guy on one side and a serious guy with the other person. And now you're like trying to be semi-serious, semi-funny. Like, yeah, now it's just like, what is this? Like now you seem like an imposter. So I could imagine just the burden of trying to be this person, different person for everybody all at the same time.
Yeah, it really was. And the thing about it, and kind of the thing with this transformational work, is all the most powerful stuff is completely in your blind spot. So since I'd kind of grown up doing that, and there is some success to it, like if you show up as cool or friendly in the right spaces, people will like that and they might invite you back out to the next party or whatever it is. So it was kind of the way I knew how to operate. And it took kind of a lot of work with my coach over this past year to really be able to see like the absolute burden that is, and then find a way to start practicing to stepping outside of it. I'm at the place now where for the first time, I'm starting to see what's on the other side, and some things that come up is a sense of lightness, a sense of peace, a sense of freedom. I'm really finding that more and more as I go around, I'm able to show up for people and not like with that whole game going on that I'm trying to carry the weight of in the background. So that's been really excellent for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. I just think I equate that to like social media because so many people, and I've had people tell me this as well, like on social media, I'm so much more serious. And like in person, it's like I joke around more and all this stuff. And I guess because like, you know, maybe my engineering mind, my like just I've got to get this done. So I just knock it out. And it's like always just kind of educational, serious type stuff. So I'm working on trying to be more lighthearted and funny as well in the content. But I could see that with you and having these different little nuances of personality that you do with different people, that eventually it comes off as almost inauthentic. And with social media, authenticity is king. We need to be authentic, which is also part of why I redid the podcast, obviously the transition of businesses too. But I wanted to be more authentic, more genuine for myself and then the people that I bring on as well. I can imagine just how much of a weight has been lifted off. And I've definitely seen a lot of changes in you over like the last year or so of you starting to change like this. And I'm sure other people locally are starting to see a lot of that as well.
Oh, thanks, Philip.
Yeah, of course, man. And so we're coming kind of on the end of our time, but I know you said that everybody's kind of unique, but if people want to really make that transition to being more authentic to themselves, what's a piece of advice that you would give to them?
So probably the most powerful one, and this is going to sound like a sell, but working with a coach, an ontologically trained coach in particular, with the reason being that blind spot thing that I said, like whatever the thing is that's like really, really in your way is usually the thing that you can't see at all. It's kind of like the world has just been this way the whole time and there's just you don't really have any way to get at it. But before a coach, if that's not something that you're interested in, I would really recommend Adam Quiney. He's someone I have learned a ton from. He has a podcast where he talks in loads of depth about this type of stuff. He's where I've learned a lot of what I know in the space from. So you can just Google his name, Adam Quiney. His podcast is The Transformational Leader. That would be a good place to kind of like to start to get a taste and just see if it's something that you're interested in at all.
Okay. Yeah, great. Well, we'll have to put that in the show notes for sure. And any kind of coaching, super helpful. And even then, if like another thing I thought about as you're saying that, get somebody who is willing to be truthful with you. Not your best friend. They're not going to be truthful enough, and probably somebody opposite of you so they can really see you for who you are and really kind of point out those things. I think they could see those blind spots for you as well. Really close friends, family, they may see some of it, but they're not going to see all of it. And then on top of that, they're probably going to sugarcoat it. So if you really don't want to go the coaching route, if you hate podcasts for some reason, you're probably not listening to ours anyways. But I would say maybe something like that could be beneficial as well to really kind of help maybe start with that. And then you could go to a coach or something. But yeah, coaching is always a good recommendation for me for that And speaking of coaching, speaking of you, where can people connect with you at? Where's the best place?
Yeah, so basically just reach out to me on any of the social media avenues, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. If you Google Seth Drugatz, my name's unique, you'll find me pretty quick. And yeah, if you are interested in this type of thing and just want to explore and have a talk, I'd be more than willing to hop on a conversation and just see where we go.
Awesome. Yeah, Seth is a great guy. So y'all make sure to reach out and follow him. He's got some good content he's putting out as well, and it's just going to continue to get better as he starts to learn more of these things and putting himself out there more, which I know we've talked about that in the past about doing videos. So yeah, I know you're going to be doing those more. I'm going to continue to keep putting that pressure on you and everybody else to do more videos, do more content. But Seth, man, appreciate the time. This has been a quick one, but been really fun to talk about literally your transformation and also transformation in a general and coaching sense.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on here, Philip. This has been awesome. Thank you for your vulnerability and your leadership in creating a space for that. Like, I love how your podcast is really geared towards what's real and what's actually going on under the surface. That's all the where all the interesting stuff is to me.
Yeah, and we need more of that. Too many people don't want to be real. They don't want to be authentic. They've got to be this picture perfect thing, the 8-figure business while they work 2 hours a week or a year and stuff. Really talk about the real and raw stuff. Appreciate it, man. So, all right, everybody, y'all have a great one. We'll talk to you later.